And we're live for the fifth edition of Consistently Inconsistent Sports Takes. I'm Colin Morris, your host for this evening. And joining me are the usual suspects, Michael Kinslow. Michael,
Your boy, how you doing, Colin? Great to be back.
Pretty good. And Leighton Markwood, now Columbia, Maryland's own, once again.
Yay.
Back
Been in Mississippi.
Yep.
Been in South Carolina. Now I'm back here in the home state of Maryland. Let's get this show on the road.
Cool. Well, let's roll. We got our hot takes of the last week. NFL saw some of the biggest names that we've had so far this season in terms of breakout players go down with injuries. It was just an injury-muddled weekend, starting with Dalvin Cook tearing his ACL and going out for the entire rest of the season. And we have Chris Carson, with a high ankle sprain and also some leg damage as well. And Marcus Mariota and Derek Carr both left their games early on Sunday. And Derek Carr seems to be out 2 to possibly 6 weeks. That's a pretty wide stretch, but that's what the injury says for his spinal discomfort, something in his lower left spine. And then Mariota will be a game time decision on Sunday. It'll be between him and Matt Castle.
Also, and don't forget about the recently signed Brandon Weeden.
Oh, of course. Yes. Brandon Weeden also getting a shot. Oklahoma State's own Brandon Weeden. We didn't mention this on the last show, and it's kind of surprising. Russell Westbrook signing the biggest extension in NBA history to stay in Oklahoma City for 5 more years, securing that he is staying there, not going to Los Angeles, and this will make this upcoming offseason even more interesting because Will Paul George decided to stay in Oklahoma City. And also USA winning the President's Cup. That would be a golf tournament, for those of you that don't know. That pits USA versus basically the rest of the world in match play style tournament. Leighton had a lot going on. These injuries seem to be the main topic of this week in the NFL and how teams are looking to bounce back from these injuries. Which of these do you see affecting their team the most going forward? Like, which team will have the hardest time replacing that player's productivity?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's really a question considering, the importance of the quarterback position. I mean, it's definitely going to be the injury to Derek Carr that's going to be the most frustrating and difficult for Oakland to overcome. Especially entering this season where they had such high expectations, coming off a 12-win season last year. And now they're going to have to roll with E.J. Manuel at quarterback for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Who knows how many games they're going to have to roll with E.J.
Go Seminoles on that one.
Mariota seems to be okay. Like you mentioned earlier, he's going to be day-to-day. And potentially a game time decision this week. But if he does indeed miss Sunday, it's looking like that'll be the extension of his injury this year.
Michael, any of these affect you personally, fantasy-wise?
Fantasy-wise, actually not really. I came out pretty clean with all these injuries, which is for fantasy-wise awesome. All our best to the guys that got injured. And Derek Carr just specifically has actually a fracture in his back is the injury that he sustained. It's called a transverse process fracture. They're talking about it during the game a little bit, what it could possibly be. Because he took a knee to the back. I don't know if you've seen the highlight or not.
Yeah.
It's pretty much just a knee to the back, but apparently it's a slight fracture.
I was starting Marcus Mariota and Chris Carson, so I'm the real winner here today.
Right.
And I was 11th on the waiver wire. And whoever took Latavius Murray, I'm coming for it. I'm coming for you.
Well, who had Dalvin in the league?
Kamish, who took that person?
Dalvin was owned by Kevin, if I'm not mistaken.
Which Kevin?
Godoy.
Okay.
Lima
Well,
Godoy.
now let me ask you this, Layden. Do you see Russell staying in Oklahoma City as enough for them to not only keep Paul George, but retain Melo on a maybe? And if not Melo, do they bring in somebody else?
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that they can retain all three of those guys next year. But I think keeping Russ, Sam Presti's history of making excellent not only trades and free agent signings, but also excellent in the draft. I think that definitely makes Oklahoma City a high interest area for incoming free agents. And I could definitely
Sam
see
Presti
Paul
is
George
looking to
staying.
already be GM of the year.
I feel like he already has it locked down. I mean, look at
there's
the
nothing really
reconstruction of
saying
that
that he
roster.
could be. I mean, he did it perfectly. The only thing that they need to do right now is get somebody else to come in with Steven Adams, because I don't think Steven Adams can hold down the paint by himself.
Right.
And that seems to be that the goal, like what they're calling now your death lineup, your fourth quarter squad, your last 5 minutes of the game.
Right.
Who do you have in? That lineup seems to right now they want it to consist of Russ, Andre Roberson, Paul George, Melo, and Adams. But Adams is an offensive liability. However good how good he is on the defensive end, not really needed in the last 5 minutes of the game. But I think maybe locking down somebody, it's going to be tough for them to go those long series without somebody else really being there to back them up.
Well, Melo he has a player option after this year, correct?
Correct.
So, I mean, I could see, and also Paul George does as well. So
yes.
I could see them bringing Paul George back on a max deal, and then Melo declining the player option, and then basically restructuring his deal to, for a more cap-friendly contract.
And
you're right.
Do you think that if this season, what do you think is their floor for that? And by that I mean, how far in the playoffs do they need to get in order for Sam Presti not to say, nah, this ain't going to work. Melo, you can go do whatever you want, finish your career somewhere else. It's not going to work. Or do you think they just keep them together?
No, this team needs to make it to the Western Conference Finals
at least, yeah.
At least for Presti to feel confident about sustaining this team.
At least go 7 in the semis against the Rockets. If you could go 7 in the semis against the Rockets and lose to Chris Paul and James Harden.
Okay, yeah. If you're paired with Houston or Golden State in the semis and you can make it a series, maybe that's worth debating.
Well, it's already looking out to be one of the most interesting NBA seasons in terms of storylines, in terms of just how good these teams have become to really tackle the Warriors, because the Warriors have presented such a strong challenge for teams now that not only do your first 5 need to be able to play, but your next 5 need to be able to play. And if your next 5 can't hang, what are you doing? Because they're just going to torch you. And if anything, just mix up their lineup well enough. Steve Kerr is such a good coach in terms of managing minutes, in terms of using his players when they need to be used, that I think it really puts a strain on some teams to be able to make their squads work against the Warriors, because the Warriors have so many different things that they can throw at them. Well, we had quite the week in the NFL. It was another loss for the Ravens against the team up in Gotham. But we're going to look at today as really just what about this season has surprised us most. The season really hasn't gone like anybody projected it would go in terms of who's at the top. Nobody thought the Chiefs were going to be 4-0. And nobody really expected the Chargers to be 0-4. So this season's all over the place, but we're going to roll with have rookies outperformed all expectations so far. there's no reason that we can't say yes. These rookies are just coming in terms, especially the running backs. The running backs have come in and really made their stamp on every team. Leighton, besides Kareem Hunt, who is your rookie of the year? Because I feel like Kareem locked it up week 1.
I think as hard as it is for me to say it, I think you got to give it to Deshaun Watson right now.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, this is a guy coming off of a 4 touchdown pass, 1 rushing touchdown performance, and a guy who's only played in 3.5 games. And frankly, I think if you gave Deshaun the chance to start week 1, Houston would have a stronghold on the AFC West or South right now.
And I feel like the gap week by week gets bigger and bigger. Like they start out with Savage, they bring in Watson, they win, and then they add Will Fuller. Bam, Will Fuller. Welcome back, right, Leighton?
Right, and well, Colin, we were talking about this on Sunday together, and you brought up the point that Deshaun looks like one of those quarterbacks who understands his strengths and weaknesses to the full extent.
Yep.
So, he doesn't have that gunslinger mentality. He's going to make the right play.
That's what you need.
Exactly. He is playing winning football right now, and I don't see another rookie quarterback. I mean, we have a chance to see Mitch Trubisky this week, but
Monday night.
It's going to be a challenge for him to outperform Deshaun in terms of what we've seen so far.
Michael, any rookies on the defensive end that have stuck out to you?
Dude, so we all know my family, New Yorkers. They're all Jets fans. Bless their hearts. But their safety they drafted this year, Jamal Adams, has been balling out, man. Another big DB out of that Louisiana State University. This kid, the last couple of weeks has been showing up, and it's part of the reason why the Jets are only, I believe they're 2-2.
Yeah.
Now, and we at the beginning of the year we said they're the worst team in football, and now they're 2-2, tied with the Patriots, only 1 game back from the Bills. I was trying to pull stats up on this dude. So far, I mean, through the season, he's got a couple passes defended, I believe 1 or 2 interceptions, like 4 tackles for a losses and a sack, and 13 solo tackles. That's not horrible for a rookie starting.
It's not.
No.
Starting against the likes of the Bills offense, or he hasn't played Tom Brady yet. So, eventually these numbers might drop a bit, but that's not bad for him starting in the NFL as a rookie at DB.
And I think another point that kind of stuck out to me in terms of like who came into the league this year, I really think we're going to see the gap in terms of how much it matters what position you play in college. As long as you're good with the ball in your hands, you're going to get playing time in the NFL.
You're going to get the ball.
Now, outside of Christian McCaffrey, Joe Mixon is now with the Bengals' new offensive coordinator is getting all the looks all the time and can catch. It's in his repertoire of things to do. And we're seeing that Zeke is coming out, can block, can catch, can obviously run. And you're seeing Hunt is doing the same thing, can catch the ball, can run the ball. And you got Alvin Kamara at the Saints, can catch the ball, can run the ball. You got Jay Ajayi, can catch the ball, run the ball. These guys that are going to be your workhorse backs are going to need to probably adapt if they want to keep their jobs, because some of these kids coming up can do everything they can and more.
Right.
Right.
Like who is Frank Gore? Who is, LeGarrette Blount? Who are these big inside the tackle backs?
Exactly.
Like LeGarrette
Blount. Wendell Smallwood took Darren Sproles' job and then took touches away from
LeGarrette Blount
because he can still run between the tackles.
It's crazy.
If Darren Sproles ran in between the tackles, he got his arm broken. So let's see what happens.
Leighton, I think Frank Gore and Blunt last played in about 1965.
Oh, okay. So, right. Those guys are so old now. I mean,
dude, they are pretty old.
And like Mike Tolbert, what are you doing, dude? What are you doing?
He's eating food. Have you seen that man? He's a big boy.
Running back. They classified him as a running back.
That's the best part. I love that dude.
Which is so stupid. Like the only reason that they should be doing that is because he classifies as a running back. So he actually he did that so he could get paid more because fullbacks get paid less on the minimum.
Listen, Colin, he doesn't classify as a fullback. He identifies as a fullback.
Yeah. Did you just assume his position? Did you just assume his position, Colin? Come on, man.
I'm so sorry. I did not think about how he likes to be seen. And if he likes to be seen as a running back,
then that's fine by me.
Then that's fine. Do what makes you happy. Back with LeSean McCoy and have fun barely getting any touches. One thing that's really been bugging me is how terrible the quarterbacks have been this season in terms of who's getting stuff done, when they need to get it done, and not just taking a backseat to other players. I'm really not liking what I've seen out of Phillip Rivers. He has all the toys in the world. All the toys. They gave him all the things. If anything, the Chargers are a better offensive version of the Ravens with more toys, better, younger toys all around. And they're 0-4. And the Ravens are 2-2 somehow, but whatever. We're not even going to talk about the Ravens this week. I don't even want to talk about it. But the quarterbacks seem to be all over the place. Russell Wilson looks like he's running for his life every time he gets the ball, and he has to hold it for longer than 2.5 seconds. Every time he's holding it for 2.5 seconds, pocket breaks down, and he's running around like a chicken with his head cut off. And the first thing that I thought of is, what if it's not the quarterbacks, though? Leighton, could this be a decline in offensive lineman talent and play?
Definitely. I mean, I think the two biggest factors here are, little to no depth at the offensive line positions, and then little to no real training from quarterbacks from a vast majority dating back to high school. You're seeing. What
kind of training do you mean?
Well, you're seeing the majority of offense running that offense where they're just going with their first read. It's just quick screens, quick dump offs. They're not really reading the field. They're not breaking down the defense. They're just hurry up, no huddle, run to the line of scrimmage, play from the shotgun, and hit your first read. That doesn't really translate too well in the NFL when you're, to be a successful quarterback, you need to make adjustments at the line. You need to read everything that the defense is doing. You need to progress through your reads, something that a lot of the quarterbacks today, including our guy, Joe Flacco, is not very successful at doing.
Yeah, we saw that a lot on Sunday. We saw Joe not get his first read, and then all Chappelle broke loose, and he's on his back. And it seems to be happening more and more and more. And then there's always ways to break this down, because what if it's not the offensive lineman's fault? What if these defensive linemen are just getting so freaking good that all they can do is just hit the guys? They're just getting past them. And yeah, that could be that the offensive linemen are stepping up their game. And I totally agree with that. And I think another point to make is that offensive lineman is probably one of the heaviest concussed positions to play. And I don't think you see a lot of kids that are about 225, year-olds right now saying, I want to play offensive lineman when I grow up, Daddy. I want to really protect Tom Brady when I grow up.
No, that's not a popular thing, but I still think offensive lineman is the issue here mainly compared to some of the other things that we have coming up to talk about. But it's there's one killer article, I don't know if you guys read it or not, from the Washington Post, Adam Kilgore. He wrote, it was back in September, it was about an offensive line crisis in the NFL. And he basically points out, throughout the article, this is the first year it took until the 20th pick in the first round for an offensive tackle to get drafted.
Remember, we were drafting dudes out of Western Michigan, the Lane Johnson year where the Eagles and the Chiefs went back-to-back with offensive linemen. Yeah, it seems to be paying off right now. Yeah, but it just seems like
it just
seems like the talent's not there.
It's in later on he talks about in the article specifically like it's a big thing about just there's not that much talent out there, and then they're not developing the talent in college. It's to the point where, you know, these colleges are running spread offense, the air raid offense, West Coast style hurry up offenses, and the college blockers don't learn how to get in 3-point stances. They don't learn how to block a typical NFL pro style quarterback. They're blocking all these screen routes and stuff for, you know, Deshaun Watson and all them, instead of sitting back, developing a good pocket or learning, you know, up the gut run techniques, you know, blocking certain gaps, opening certain gaps, things like that. They're not learning in college. So when they get to the NFL, all of a sudden it's like a new world for them entirely.
And I think and I like what you said about them and not being an emphasis. You're really seeing the offensive line coaches disappear in college. They're getting put with quarterback coaches or running back coaches, and they hire somebody to do both. And a running back coach has no right teaching an offensive lineman what to do. And an offensive lineman coach sure shit doesn't have anything telling a running back what to do besides telling him what gap to go through. And it's just interesting to me that these, like, you're right, that when you're hiring for show, and I think your offensive lineman, it's like the old saying goes in golf, you drive for show, you putt for dough. And I think that applies here, where in college, offensive linemen don't matter. Alabama's doing it, and they're pumping out linemen, and they're great. But when's the last time you heard of a lineman coming out of Clemson?
No. I mean, you know, maybe one or two.
On the defensive side, for sure, but on the offensive side of the ball, those are national champions, and I've never heard of an offensive lineman come out of Clemson before.
And like, I know South Carolina Gamecocks, our team, I know of 3 linemen so far.
AJ Can.
Shell or Snell.
Brandon Shell.
There's one more. I'm blanking on the name, but there are 3. There's one more. He's an older Gamecock.
Oh no, Mason Zundy from last year just went into the Chargers. He's on the Chargers.
Okay, that must be it then. But I mean, that's 3 from our team, and I mean, you think about that. Not every team has 3 in the NFL. I mean, that's quite a few to have.
That's right. Call us lineman U over here,
dudes. They're all gone, and that's why our offensive line.
Columbia, South Carolina, the capital of your third string offensive lineman.
Dude, pretty much.
But I think what we're also seeing is that the mobile quarterbacks have become king, and not necessarily just being a flat-out mobile quarterback like a Michael Vick or a Johnny not Johnny Manziel. I take that back. I'm sorry, guys. But you're seeing guys more like you need Aaron Rodgers. You might not be able to produce the fact that Aaron Rodgers can throw a Hail Mary 3 times in a season and complete 2 of them for game-winning touchdowns. That's you can't duplicate that.
You can't replicate that.
But when the plays break down, there's nobody else I want scrambling out of the pocket than Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And the dude, it used to be Russell Wilson, but now he has nobody to block for him.
Dude, the Seahawks offensive line, if Irvin was watching, we'd get him in here to throw down just an on-the-spot rant about the Seahawks offensive line. They're so bad. He would tear them apart. It would be so great. But since he's not watching. He's at some music festival in Dallas right now, you know, while we're at school and work and whatnot. But I mean, like, the Seahawks offensive line is just so bad. It's just everyone they don't invest in their offensive line. Like the Broncos had this issue the last couple seasons. We finally invested in our offensive line, and Trevor Siemian's finally standing up in the pocket. And, you know, but like back to what Colin said, you need that pro style quarterback in Aaron Rodgers who has the ability to get out of the pocket, roll out. Big Ben, that's part of the reason why he's so good. It's so hard to take him down. I mean, he's getting up in age now, but like back, you know, a couple years ago, Big Ben was the name in terms of escaping pocket pressure, getting out of these sacks and throwing the ball downfield. You know, you need that now with this lack of O-line talent. Honestly, I think it's almost a necessity at this point.
Is there anything, Leighton, do you think there's anything that can be done on the pro side about this? Or do you think this is just something like we come through waves of players where you have the great quarterback classes? We just had a great running back class, and you have these other and we've had an offensive linemen were about almost 5 to 10 years ago were the weird stars of the draft. They were like, I don't really care, you know, if my team drafts an offensive lineman, and I'm not going to go buy their jersey. They're not the rookie jersey sellers.
Right. From a fan perspective, they're not the hot topic.
Exactly. But is there anything that college can do to fix this, to make it more appealing for players to want to be star offensive linemen?
Well, I think this really, links back to what we were talking about earlier, and there really is a dearth of coaching talent right now in the college and high school ranks, especially when it comes to offensive line and trench work training, because, like you mentioned, what's the big sell right now? It's offense. It's putting up big numbers. It's the run game. It's the big 50-yard plays. It's the receivers. Imagine you're a kid. You're not looking up to Andrew Whitworth. You're not looking up to Ronnie Stanley, to, Jonathan Ogden. These aren't the type of guys.
Laramie Tunsil. I look up to Laramie Tunsil. I just want to point that out.
But I think it really needs to be a point of emphasis starting young with how valuable the position is, and just focusing on building that training, building that experience, and eventually it'll pool over into the NFL.
I think cash money is a good way.
No.
Do you mean like Birdman?
So, and I had a slight thought about this, is that maybe what's appealing to these offensive linemen, and it takes true intellect to play offensive linemen.
Yanda, baby.
True football intellect. Marshall Yanda is one of the smartest people in the NFL. At least knowing everything that's going on. You have to know everybody's role to know how to adjust mid-play to make the best play possible, and that's knowing what everybody else is doing. And you should know what everybody is doing for every position in the NFL. But offensive lineman more so it's very important because you're protecting the most important players on the field. And I think what you're seeing is that these players who are getting smart, who are smarter, who are offensive linemen, are going into college and saying, well, you know what's smarter for me? To stay in college for 4 years and go get a job somewhere where I'm not going to get CTE.
Get a fucking degree.
Yeah, I'm going to go to – maybe these offensive linemen are going to Clemson for 4 years, getting an architectural engineering or, an agricultural engineering degree, and going and starting some new plan.
They're probably building their own golf courses and stuff.
Yeah, man. They're doing golf course management.
That's what they're doing. They're doing golf course management at Clemson.
Or have CTE for the rest of my life after 24.
It's a pretty easy choice.
Easy decision right here. My kid's not playing offensive line, I'll tell you that. I'm going, You can play football. We ain't playing offensive line.
My kid isn't playing football, man.
Oh. Well, we can go there if you want. I'll go down there.
I mean, I don't think it's really going to be a thing in the next 15 years.
Have you seen that South Park episode where they have where it's like the evolution of football, and by the end of it, they're all like throwing a balloon in the air, wearing like pillows on their heads as pads, and if they touch somebody, they're out. And it looks to be where this league is going.
Yeah, unless there's some major revolution in helmet technology, that's pretty much what it's going to be.
Yeah,
no,
definitely.
Those helmet companies are like the cigarette companies of football.
Dude, they're like the fucking cable companies and shit. They're holding out as long as they can. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You don't want to get CT? Oh, that's too bad. You signed a contract to play football. Oh, I'm so sorry.
The required.
That's what that shit's doing.
But really, like unless they can find an extremely innovative development in helmet research to really protect players from CTE, you're going to eventually see flag football as supplanting the NFL.
Or Madden esports.
Dude, Madden esports taking over. CJ Anderson plays that every week. He streams it too.
But I think it's going to end up being like Major League Lacrosse, something that nobody's going to pay any interest in. If we end up with flag football.
I think one thing that we might see. Oh, I lost my thought. Sorry.
I think this kind of also relates back. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about the NFL viewership numbers are way down this year. And all this, I think, connects together is between all these injuries and stuff, and then just like the lack of certain talent making, games, some games necessarily not as interesting to watch, because all these crazy plays can't develop because this boom quarterback gets sacked 8 times a game.
And I think what you're seeing
not as
is
fun to
like,
watch.
it's like having a conversation. If you're Christian Bale in The Dark Knight, and you're like, my head needs to turn. It's like, yeah, but then you're gonna get like bit by dogs and you're gonna bleed. Yeah, but my head needs to turn. I can't turn. Like, oh, that's too bad. I guess you're just gonna get bit by dogs. So these guys, like, you imagine the helmets that they have to wear,
Yeah,
so that their heads don't move at all. You see like this much of them, and their helmets are like this big, and nothing's moving. They can move like this. It's just something we're gonna have to suck up. And I think this might be this whole CTE thing, especially with what came out about Aaron Hernandez's brain. That was one of the worst cases of CTE anybody had ever seen.
Well, I mean, that really makes you think, you know?
Is this Archduke Franz Ferdinand being shot at the NFL and the NFL just collapsing? Not collapsing, but the beginning of the end?
dude. If they get Wes Welker's brain in for a scan, I would be terrified to see what that is.
Oh my God!
He is already admitted to having memory loss.
Last person that needs a Football Life documentary on NFL Network. Last person. I saw the preview for that this morning. That man does not deserve a Football Life documentary. There are a lot more people who need a Football Life documentary.
But when you're talking about someone like Hernandez, who played the majority of his football in high school and college and played, 4 years in the NFL?
4 seasons.
It really makes you wonder how early onset CTE really is, because obviously the majority of these autopsies you're getting aren't from 26, 27-year-olds. You're getting them from 50, 60. You're getting them from
dead bodies.
Exactly. So really, everyone that we're watching on Sundays in excess of stage 3 CTE.
And imagine what would happen if players had to go in for regular checks.
Can you imagine if they had to go in for a check and showed signs like they did concussion protocol?
Exactly.
There would be they couldn't field a team.
Exactly. The games wouldn't even be able to be played. But I think the last surprise, really, of this season, it's been the Patriots. Patriots? More like the Redcoats. These guys are not the team that came back and beat the Falcons. That defense is hot doo-doo. The offense is I mean, Brady threw 5 touchdown passes, but it's not like one dude's dragging them all down. Gronk is not getting the same separation that he used to, and he's not converting when he does.
I think the offense is fine. Gronk obviously isn't the immense talent that he's been, because finally all of that metal in his body is starting to slow him down.
He's half cyborg.
Yeah, that defense, dude, is horrendous. And
Rob Ninkovich, do you think he makes it through the season?
You mean, do you think he's going to get a call and they want him to come back and play?
No, wait, no. Who's the defensive coordinator?
Oh, Matt Patricia.
You're right. He does look just like Rob.
He looks just like Ninkovich, dude. I literally thought it was Ninkovich.
No, yeah.
Belichick had brought him on because it's that same dude. It's my fault.
No, but
what's his name, Michael?
I think it's Matt Patricia.
It's Matt Patricia. And
do you think he makes it through the season?
Yeah, I think he does.
Yeah, I do as well. I think really this is on Belichick, because while they did sign Stephon Gilmore in the offseason, they've
let a lot of –
what's that?
He's not playing well.
He's been very up and down. He did make an excellent interception, not this past Sunday, but the previous Sunday. And I think they've let Chandler Jones walk.
Right.
They traded away Jimmy Collins, who is one of the best outside linebackers in the game. They didn't re-sign Chris Long in free agent. They've let a lot of really, really good front 7 guys walk. And the injury to Dante Hightower has resulted in
a loss of signal caller on the defense.
Dante Hightower means so much to that team.
So much. That might be the most important injury we find out at the end of the season.
Yeah, for the Patriots.
That defense is dysfunctional without him there. He is that glue. And there's nobody else that I can't name another middle linebacker for that team.
Nope, I can't.
Not anymore. No,
Not anymore. Yeah, not anymore. And that really is just the last thing the Patriots need, because what makes them so great is how consistent they are. They do what they do, and when they do it, you can't win.
Dude, they're looking a little like this podcast right now. Little consistently inconsistent.
Ooh.
That's a cold hard fact.
That is your Gatorade take of the day. Well, I think the NFL will have a lot for us to talk about after this weekend. Their first weekend of buys, and I think we're going to have some bye. Yeah, I think we're going to have some pretty good games come Sunday and Monday. Then Thursday night's game, tomorrow night's game, I'm actually really excited to watch between the Patriots and the Buccaneers. Thursday Night Football is turning it around this year, and it actually has games that I want to watch.
Definitely.
And I think from what I looked at the schedule for the upcoming games, it's just going to continue. So good for you, Amazon. You scored. You won. Good job.
Their stream was pretty good. I don't know if you actually checked out the Amazon stream. It was pretty good. It's pretty good.
I liked it.
And not to mention that we're now just about to begin the crucial second quarter of the NFL season.
Crucial.
Now is when the games really count, gentlemen.
What we have to deal with this weekend as well, and I don't mean deal to sound derogative, but we have baseball playoffs. And last night. Playoffs. Yeah, we're going to talk about playoffs. The Yankees whooped that ass last night. Aaron Judge is going to be one of the greatest baseball players of all time. That kid is not afraid of any stage, any moment, nothing. It's like he was programmed at birth to say, "I hit ball far." What is your prime directive? Hit ball far. And he hits balls far. The Yankees beat the Twins last night 8-4. It was a 3 runs. Both teams scored 3 runs in the first inning. It was amazing. Judge had a great double that set up the 3-run home run from Gardner, who came in every time.
From Gregorius.
That was Gregorius?
Yeah. He hit that tying 3-run shot in the first.
Yeah. Right. And then Gardner came out and was just consistent in coming out behind the main rotation and just crushing it. And just these guys are like, "Oh, let me get through with Aaron Judge real quick." And then Gardner's coming up a couple spots later. He's like, "Nah, bro, you got to deal with me. I'm coming out to play tonight."
Yeah, Gardner hit that go-ahead, and the Yankees never looked back.
And the Twins were just like, "Nah, they didn't have it." What I looked in on the Twins and saw was that their pitching, they're either really experienced and not so much postseason experience veterans, but veterans of the game, and then a lot of guys who have just gotten called up in the last couple of years. So I think the Twins are a team to look out for going forward in the next couple of seasons if they can add a couple big arms, into that starting rotation.
Yeah,
and the Twins definitely have the lineup to hit with most teams. But yeah, go ahead.
I mean, the Twins are a team. They traded a couple of relief guys right before the trade line, including their closer and Brandon Kinsler, all in an effort to kind of gain prospects and retool the offense. At that point, they really weren't planning on making the postseason.
Right.
You know? So, yeah, their pitching staff wasn't really prepared for this game. And they threw their best guy in there to start in Irvin Santana, and he had a huge letdown in that first inning, and that kind of carried on into the relief staff. First inning, I've never seen anything like that where you've got 2 aces get blown up in the first inning, and Severino, the Yankees ace, getting pulled after just 1 out in the first.
1 out. And it was
this
the
is a
best
guy
play they made because then Green came in.
Yeah, Green played very
Green
well.
came in and was just like, cool, let's go. I got this. And he stuck with it and he kept them. He kept them in it. Every time that the Twins came in, and there were a couple times where it was a Girardi, right? The manager?
Yeah.
Girardi came out and looked at him and Green's like, you're not taking me out right now. Like, yeah, I just let him get 2 men on, but I closed it down, and that's my job. So you just hold on a little bit. But then every time I looked at the Twins, every time they panned to the Twins bullpen, the Twins have 2 dudes in there, and they just kept going. And the Yankees were just twiddling their thumbs, and then eventually Chapman rolls out, and that was one of my other points was Chapman really didn't look that good in terms of the Chapman we really have come to know. And Leighton, I know you didn't make it to the end of the game, but he was either throwing at 103 right in the middle of the strike zone, or he was all over the place. And I mean like really like 4K splatter paint all over the place.
No, yeah. I ended up watching his inning later on in highlights, and really his command is the reason that he lost his job midway through the season to Dylan Betances. This is not the same Chapman we've seen over the last couple of years. This is a guy who still has all the speed in the world, but has lost full command of his pitching. And that's going to be something to really look at deeper into this postseason.
Do you think that comes from overuse? Like, I know you're a big Strasburg fan, and I know where the past 3 years a big storyline has been them keeping him on a pitch count and being really particular about how they handle his arm. Do you think Chapman, he might still have the heat, but he just doesn't have the focus?
I mean, a guy who pitches as infrequent as Chapman, I wouldn't really put it on overuse, but it really could be, that shoulder damage and that torque from throwing 105, 103 mile per hour fastballs over and over. And he is starting to get up there in age. He's been around for a while.
Quick update, Goldschmidt just knocked a 3-run homer.
3-run homer, yep. Just saw another 3 runs scored in the first inning of these wild card games. This is
I mean, we were talking about it on Saturday. This is going to be a really exciting postseason.
It's definitely going to be one to look forward to. And I'll hold off on us making any World Series picks till after these divisional series play out, and then we'll reconvene and make a little predictions podcast. But I like the Yankees, guys. I think the Yankees have paid enough money again to have a team that can win again.
You think they can beat Cleveland, though?
I think they can hold it with Cleveland. I don't think Cleveland is – I think the Yankees could be a team that Cleveland can't just play their game and win. They have to play better than they have to – because the Yankees are bringing it. They know they're there, and they have an opportunity. And that's something the Yankees haven't had in the past couple of seasons. And that's really something that drives the Yankees, that when they have that opportunity to win, they have a hard time not seizing it. It's just not in their DNA.
Yeah, I think the AL is wide open.
But I really just want a Yankees, Red Sox, ALCS. That's all I want.
That'd be nuts.
And I wanted to go 7. That'd be great.
That'd be absolutely nuts. That would be so fun to watch.
That'd be so much fun to watch. Yeah, it's just like one of those great things. And you're like, whoa. Man, and the ALCS, it would be crazy. The ALCS's ratings would blow out the NLCS. But the NLCS, between like the Royals and are the Royals are in?
No, Royals are in the AL, first of all.
Oh, they're out.
And they didn't make the playoffs.
Right. My bad. So we have the Dodgers and the Cubs, which that could be good, but it's not the Yankees. It's not the Yankees and the Red Sox.
Well, we're looking at the best matchup in the NL this weekend in terms of Nats, Cubs.
Yeah,
true.
That's easily the best matchup.
And I think those are the best 2 teams in the National League.
Oh, definitely. For sure. In terms of how they've been throughout the whole season consistently, because I'm still not over the fact that the Dodgers lost all those games in July and August. I'm not over it.
as good as they are, you can't lose 20 out of 22 or whatever it ended up really being.
It was 22.
And expect to, be that overpowering source in the playoffs. Like, that had to cause a dent in their confidence.
When Yasiel Puig is hitting 260 and he's your 8th batter, you shouldn't lose a baseball game. Statistics show that you should not lose a baseball game. There's a book about it. It's called Moneyball. Like, it proves the Dodgers have literally constructed the perfect team, and they just are having a hard time putting it together. Is that, Leighton, do you think that's more of too many cooks, or just it's hard for that talent to click like that in baseball?
Whew. I mean, that's a loaded question. The Dodgers, what has held them back? I think some of that LA essence has come into play with them. And I think being the team that everybody's talking about for the first 4 months of the season might have gotten to their heads, especially when they were rolling through teams and they were winning a lot of games without Kershaw in the lineup. That offense looked unstoppable. And, I mean, come on, when you're in a city like LA and you're getting all the love, you're getting all the talking heads, it's got to get to you, right?
It has to, because the Angels aren't drawing headlines.
Neither are the Chargers.
I saw this on Reddit. It was absolutely insane. More people in LA woke up to watch the 9:30 kickoff. 6:30 Pacific time kickoff for the Saints and the Dolphins than tuned in to the Chargers game.
They actually blacked out the Chargers. They actually blacked that game out in LA.
There were more Eagles fans at the Chargers game than there were Chargers games. Move the Chargers back to San Diego. Build a new stadium. San Diego is one of the most beautiful cities on the entire planet. San Diego has so much opportunity, lost so much opportunity with losing the Chargers. That's going to cause San Diego as a city to suffer for years in terms of like how much lost revenue you lose from a football team like that. And I mean, side note, they're probably going to lose San Diego Comic-Con, the biggest event in nerddom that there is, because it's getting too big for San Diego and they won't expand the convention center. And it's all kind of playing into the fact that they never should have left. They really never should have left. But LA just seems to be this city that when you're bad, they don't let you know. Like they never let you forget it. And how they remind you is by not giving a shit. There's too much shit in LA to do. If you're not a good LA Galaxy, nobody gives a fuck about the LA Galaxy right now at all. And the soccer team LAFC that Will Ferrell's owning, that's probably going to get more attention just because Will Ferrell owns that team than the Galaxy's going to get. And the sad part is that the Chargers are playing in the Galaxy Stadium and they can't even fill it, and it's a quarter of the size of the stadium they had in San Diego.
This is a 25,000 seat or 30,000.
25,000. You're telling me you can't find 25,000 people in a city of 15 million people to come watch a football game? You can't give those tickets away to at least seem like people give a shit?
Seriously, just comp 15,000 of those tickets,
Comp them! Give them to the military. South Carolina does it every year with the game before Clemson when we do the military service game. All the seats in the upper deck, they give them to the soldiers of Fort Jackson, and they give them free tickets to the game. It's really easy, guys. LA, what are you doing? You got the Olympics coming up in a few years. I really hope you guys turn it around because LA has the potential to be an amazing sports city when it wants to be. And
you just got to win.
One thing that helps that is when the Lakers are good. And speaking of Lakers, the NBA preseason is in full effect right now. This is one of the most active NBA off seasons in terms of basic new teams being formed. And by that, I mean new combinations of players being put together. No new teams in the league right now. But one question I have for you guys. Do these moves by the Cavs, Rockets, Thunder, Celtics, etc., is this enough to make it seem like did they close the gap enough to make the conversation not be who's going to lose to the Warriors, but who can beat the Warriors?
It's going to be a closer series. Is it who can beat the Warriors? I don't know if it's still to that point. That team is still stacked beyond belief. But it's definitely, maybe they go the full 7 games. Who knows?
I think this offseason created a lot of parity in the league, and it changed the discussion from, okay, can we just get to June and have the Cavs and Warriors play, to, wow, is somebody actually going to contest Cleveland? Is Boston going to make a play at Cleveland? Is Oklahoma City or is Houston going to make a play at Golden State? I think it made the season a lot more intriguing, and I think it's kind of fruition for something that's going to keep on continuing in each successive offseason with all of these teams forming together and all the pending free agents, kind of licking their chops at all the options they have.
And so I'll ask you guys this, and whoever picks first cannot pick who the other person picked. So who has who makes the biggest impact on their new team this year? And Leighton, I'll give you first pick. You got CP3, Chris Paul George, or dark horse, Jimmy Butler.
Well, I think that Chris Paul is the most impactful player on the team just because the point guard is kind of like the quarterback in the NBA, and Chris is going to have his hands on the ball every single play. Not to mention his immaculate perimeter defense, his quick hands and notion for filling up the passing lane.
The man is 6'1", and he guards Kevin Durant better than any forward in the NBA, for sure.
And
I'll never forget that series. He was all up in his face. It was fourth quarter, and little Chris Paul is just like smacking at the air in front of Kevin Durant and holds him to 5 of 11 shooting in the fourth quarter.
And the Rockets, they won 59 games this year?
I believe that sounds correct.
58, something around that number. Can you imagine James Harden playing off ball to CP3 and getting a pick play where he gets an open corner 3 and CP3 hits him in the perfect spot? That's going to be consistent throughout the entire season.
And do you think Harden will have a hard time going back to what he was doing before last year?
I don't, because I think Harden wants to be a shooting guard.
Right. I think so too. Michael, who's your pick?
I was going to go with CP3, but because it was taken away, we're going to go with Paul George. The man's going to bring stability to Russell Westbrook. Russ is not going to have to be putting up triple doubles, even bigger than triple doubles every night to try and keep the Thunder in some of these games. And I think that's good for him. We'll see by the time it reaches playoffs, maybe he won't be as exhausted as he seems a little bit in the playoffs. Because he's not putting an entire damn team on his back the entire season. So, if these numbers can, if they come down a little bit, I think that's a good thing for Russ because it means the team around him is playing to a higher level. And I think that's all OKC really needs is just the entire team to play at a higher level, not just Russ playing at just this astronomical level.
So I guess that leaves me with Jimmy Butler, and it's actually who I wanted because I think Jimmy Butler is going to provide a leadership role on the Timberwolves this year. I think his relationship with Tom Thibodeau is very important to the Timberwolves' success this year. And I see the Timberwolves as their ceiling being about the 5th ranked seed in the Western Conference. And I think that's very good. That's a sign that they did the rebuild better than Philly did, because they both kind of been on the same trajectory for the last 4 or 5 years that they've been rebuilding, rebranding, both of them. And Karl Anthony Towns is an absolute monster. He's a Swiss Army knife. He can drop threes. He can drop teardrops in the paint. And he's also one of the best shot blockers in the league. Andrew Wiggins is just an athletic freak. You can't control him when he's loose. If the guy masters the turnaround jump shot that he thinks he has, he'll be one of the top 10 forwards in general in the league. And I think Jimmy provides that experience. He has playoff experience. He's gone like that. I really think that series against the Celtics last year was a really big turning point for Jimmy Butler in terms of him saying, I can do this. I can be the guy if I need to be the guy. I just need a better cast around me than he had in Chicago. And I think he has that now at the Timberwolves. And I think they can make some noise, and they can take a few games from somebody and make the first round interesting, depending on who that depending on who the fourth ranked team is in the final in the playoffs.
Especially with Tibbs as coach.
Yeah, and Tibbs has been there. Tibbs knows. He's coached Derrick Rose, MVP. I mean, he knows what to do in the right situations, and he can consistently make the right calls in terms of also managing his players. I said earlier, Kerr's one of the best at managing players' minutes. But Tibbs is also one of the best. He knows, and tonight, the Timberwolves, or tonight-ish, 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Warriors are playing the Timberwolves in China for a preseason game. I may stay up and watch it. I haven't decided. I took a little nap this afternoon in precaution, just a little precautionary nap in case I had to stay. I thought we were going to record later, so the later recording was just going to roll into me watching basketball. But I think that rolls into just the Warriors. Like, no matter what, the Warriors are just going to stomp the Timberwolves. Like the Warriors would just that's the difference between the 1 seed and the 5 seed of the tournament, is that the Warriors would just crush them in 4 games. Leighton, do you think that there's any team right now that has the potential to beat the Warriors?
I mean, I think you can still look at Cleveland right now and say that that's a team that's going to give the Warriors all that they can ask for.
I'm still on this. I'm on the Celtics wagon. I think the Celtics, if they put it all together, we were talking about death squad lineups earlier. I don't want to see Kyrie Irving, Jaylen Brown, Gordon Hayward, Jason Tatum, and Al Horford in the last 5 minutes of a game. Al, Hayward, and Kyrie, that's in the top 5 of big threes, if you want to call 3 best players on a team a big 3. That's in the top 5 of overall talent that you have in the league when you put them together.
Yeah, I still think the East is Cleveland's. And actually, I was listening to Richard Jefferson's take on Golden State-Cleveland rivalry on my favorite podcast.
All good stuff from Richard. All good things.
RJ, he is –
Oh, you guys friends? RJ? You know him personally?
RJ, it's your boy.
He's a very articulate guy, and he really broke it down. And both of those fan bases, he mentioned throughout the regular season, throughout the early rounds of the playoffs, if you're at home and you're a part of one of those teams, you're not worried about anything. You're not stressed about anything. You go in with the expectation to win. But when it gets time to Cleveland at Golden State or Golden State at Cleveland, the home crowd gets very quiet. They get uneasy because they know this is the game. This is the one game all year where it's not a given that you're going to win.
Right.
So I think it's still Cleveland's battle, and I think it's still Cleveland who has the best shot at dethroning Golden State. And obviously, as a perpetual Boston hater, I think they got worse this offseason.
I'd fight that.
And I think the Wizards are the second best team in the East. Even with Markieff out for the first month maybe of the season.
We'll see. We'll have fun throughout this NBA season watching the rise and fall of the Eastern Conference. The true bingo night that is the Eastern Conference standings. Every night it changes throughout the season. The West, it kind of like after a couple weeks, it's like, all right, the Warriors, Spurs. There's like a nice 5-game gap between those guys. Like there's like a 3-game gap after the first 3 weeks between the Warriors and the Spurs. Warriors kind of get ahead a little bit. There's like a 5-6 game gap between the Spurs and everybody else, and they're all fighting it down there. But the East last year, it was just like, whoa, everybody's got a shot. You're number one. You're number one. I mean, that jumped around last year, and the Celtics were the number 1 seed in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's more so a testament of Cleveland not really caring.
True. And now they're going to get fined for that if they seem to continue to not care. Because now Adam Silver can just say, oh, you wanted to sit LeBron during a Sunday afternoon game at Boston? Yeah, let me get $100K, Dan. $100K. That's fine. I'll take that. But, Michael, do you think there are any rookies coming in this year that can take a lottery team and put them into the playoffs this season?
I'm looking – I just don't see Lonzo doing it with the Lakers, honestly. You know, maybe Fultz can do it would be my pick, honestly.
I would say the Eastern Conference rookies have a better time.
Yeah. The Eastern Conference is wide open for these rookies to make a bigger impact because the West is just so stacked. I mean, it's like the rookies, if they go into the West, they're either, you know, a bench player, rotation guy, or they're on a team that is going to get steamrolled no matter what. But in the East, they actually have a shot to, you know, pull out, show what they've got, show what they're made of. So, you know, you got that. You said your boy Jason Tatum. You know, yeah. he could actually, you know, make a starting 5, and he's got the Duke shirt on. Look at this guy. I would say Tatum probably has the most to show because he's got a good team around him.
And then that's why I'll say, Leighton, your point about the Celtics not getting better. I don't think it was a term of them moving players. Like, they moved Isaiah Thomas and they got Kyrie Irving. I feel like that equals each other out because it's really hard for Kyrie to be a true upgrade in terms of his box score. But I think losing Jay Crowder was a blessing in disguise because bringing in Gordon Hayward, there's no way Gordon Hayward and Jay Crowder coexist. And I think Gordon Hayward is a true upgrade over Jay Crowder. Maybe not defensively, but as an overall basketball player, Gordon Hayward is a better basketball player than Jay Crowder, for sure.
See, I think the Celtics made moves more on par with the future. And I think in the short term, they got a little bit worse. Not, you know, they're still going to be a top 3 team in the East. Right. But I think they lost a lot of experience, a lot of playoff experience with Amir Johnson, Avery Bradley, Jay Crowder. You know, that's a lot of team chemistry that's just leaving.
Right.
And Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Gordon Hayward, those guys are going to have to come in. Marcus Morris also. Those guys are going to have to come in. Well, Smart's been there. Right. He's just going to have a much bigger role now.
It feels like a new team, though. It feels like a new team, and you're learning new things. You're learning how to play next to Kyrie Irving as opposed to Isaiah Thomas, which I guess they're both ball-dominant guards, so it doesn't really change anything.
Yeah, I think it could look a little bit like, and I don't mean in terms of talent, but it could look a little bit like that first year of the Miami Big Three. And remember the slow start they got off to and all the questions that were coming out like, wow, did they make the right decision? Should LeBron have stayed in Cleveland?
Right.
Of course, they ended up going to the championship that year and eventually losing to Dallas, but they put it together. And I think Boston will put it together. I just don't think –
I think Boston makes it to the finals, not this year, but in the next 3 years, I feel like Boston makes it to the finals. Once that team is stuck together –
I don't disagree with that. I think they made the best moves for their future and kind of disregarded the short term.
I like that. We'll call it a soft rebuild. Not in terms of like a total, tank job, but they quietly rebuilt themselves, kept them. I would say that they're points wise, they'll get the same amount out of their team that they got last year. They didn't add anybody that's gonna. I mean, they added Kyrie. It's Kyrie, so he can do whatever he wants with the ball in his hand. But I don't think you're right. I think that the fact that when you line up point guards, you're going to have Isaiah going against Kyrie again, and then you're going to have Marcus Smart going against Derrick Rose. And I think Derrick Rose is going to come out and surprise a lot of people this year and win Most Improved Player of the Year.
I hope so, man. I hope so.
I miss MVP Derrick Rose badly.
I think a lot of pressure has been put on him, and as long as he can stay healthy, he's definitely in the right situation for him to succeed.
Well, guys, any last thoughts on the NBA before we move on to a little more fun subject?
I'm just ready for the season, man.
I'm happy with the preseason. It's fun. Deeper teams get to see more players play. I like it. Oh, and by the way, the Kings hype train starts right here. The Kings hype train is real. The Kings will win a title. I said it last night while I was watching the game. The Kings will win a title in the next 10 years. They have set themselves up for massive success. De'Aaron Fox, baller. He has a Manu Ginobili Euro step. That's faster than Manu. Buddy Hield can shoot the lights out of the gym and is stellar. Their weakest position, and they got Harry Giles out of Duke as a steal. They got a steal in Harry Giles.
Oh, they definitely did.
That's a steal. He was the number one player in the class coming out of high school, and then got hurt at Duke. In college, the NBA draft is what did you do for me last year when you're drafting? Not so much of like, oh, well, you were good in high school. I guess I'll draft you. But the Kings also, and they have Willie Cauley-Stein out of Kentucky, who's now getting a chance to start at center and be able to make a stamp and not have to play backseat to Boogie all the time. And he got a little bit of that last year after they traded him. But now I think these Kings, and they have Zebo, they have Zach Randolph, the official drug dealer of the Consistently Inconsistent podcast. Because that dude skirted off of charges very nicely. Said, I'll take this community service and I'll keep playing this year, because most people probably would have gone to jail for a very long time. But I think these Kings definitely have a chance to make some noise in the league this year. They'll win some games that they shouldn't win. They beat the Spurs in preseason. They beat the Spurs. But still, I mean, they look good. It wasn't like Kawhi was out there balling all over the place, but still, it was a fun, entertaining game to watch. But we're gonna roll into a new subject, a new topic for the week. We're gonna call it Kicks of the Week. And this week saw the release of Damian Lillard's fourth signature shoe. I'm going to share it with everybody. So we have the Dame 4s here looking mighty fresh. Just a solid basketball shoe. I mean, this looks like, and I compared it to these Adidas Supremes, which –
Ooh.
Right? Yeah. They look like those are sick, and those are like $220 shoes. And then Dame's over here, like, you sure you guys don't want this for just $115? And you can ball in them? I mean, Michael, would you buy these?
Dude, the core black ones look dope as fuck.
They do indeed.
Look at those. Oh my god. All right, turn it off before something bad happens.
Yeah.
I'll close down Michael's video.
Turn it off before I buy a pair.
We might. Yeah, I mean, these shoes are insane. They're definitely better. I mean, I like the Currys this year, but these are definitely my favorite shoes of the new releases to come out for the season.
Adidas is killing it in the shoe department.
They really are. Adidas is on point, and they're already. I mean, they're never gonna like top Nike, so they have to do this crazy shit, like the bottom of the shoes right here, like the bottom, like how wavy that is.
Hey, speaking of Adidas. Do you guys think this whole NCAA scandal is going to kind of pool into their shoes and maybe, they're going to start selling shoes on a discount?
That'd be
what?
From a consumer standpoint, I hope it happens because that'd be awesome.
No. What?
Yeah, me too. I hope it happens.
What? No.
Does it happen?
No.
Maybe not, but that'd be cool as hell to get some like half price Adidas, man.
Adidas you might think that Adidas makes money off of people in the United States. Adidas is the biggest soccer company on the planet.
Also, every Russian person owns an Adidas tracksuit. It's a fact.
Yeah. Their money from soccer, they could drop college basketball and they would still be fine. Like Under Armour, they wouldn't do that. But Under Armour still probably couldn't catch them if they dropped college football because soccer would still boost them up. I think that's great. You really think that they could sell their shoes for cheaper?
No, I wasn't being serious. I was just hoping from a consumer standpoint.
Oh, well then go to your Adidas outlet at your nearest Tanger for a bunch of Louisville gear. Oh! Oh! It'll look like a hurricane when a hurricane rolls through somewhere and there's a bunch of Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl victory T-shirts all over the place.
Right. Next time you go visit Africa, you're going to be finding Louisville jerseys and stuff everywhere. Not just Falcons jerseys.
Like the one Rick Pitino wore.
Right.
Oh, God.
Well, guys, I just think I think he's the Michael Jordan of sports, and you just don't bet against Michael Jordan. And he was so tight in that jersey.
Yeah, it fit him perfectly.
They probably had to cut it off of him to get it off.
It would be like giving Honey Boo Boo a size 0.
Ew.
It's not. Yeah. Think about that, guys.
No, I don't want to think about that. No, take that. We need a cold, hard break from that is what we need.
Yeah,
of course, help us out.
Gatorade definitely doesn't sponsor that, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
All right, Layden, give me one thing you're looking forward to this week before we meet next time.
Oh, this week. I'm looking forward to the Cubs and the Nats series.
Michael, what you got?
League of Legends Worlds group stage starts at 3 a.m. I guess technically tomorrow, but 3 a.m. the group stage starts. So Worlds is officially in effect. They're in China.
China's booking right now.
Yeah. So
the Warriors are there. The League of Legends people are there. Oh, guys, Michael, I have to talk to you about this. We might as well talk about it on air. I was watching the Google announcement video today. They announced the Google Pixel Book, their new laptop. They announced the Pixel 2.
Yeah.
While they were talking about the Pixel 2, they were talking about some interesting augmented reality stuff that's going to be going on with games. And they showed an app that you're going to be able to look at your phone and look at the League of Legends map.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
And just be able to move around and you'll see everybody moving. That's how you'll watch League of Legends.
If that works and is fully functioning, I will buy a Pixel 2 just for that feature.
For real. For real.
As somebody who enjoys watching League of Legends, that would be fucking awesome.
Because you're sitting there and you can see what the problem is when you're watching a League of Legends broadcast, and for people who don't know, you're basically looking at what, and I think it's a computer program, Michael. It's predetermined. There's an algorithm where damage is being done.
Yeah, there's a predetermined program. So you load in spectator mode, and then in spectator mode, it knows when to jump to certain things based on what's happening in terms of stats.
Sounds like Skynet to me.
But a lot of times it'll jump to really shitty situations where something's about to happen in the bot lane, but then there was a heavy trade in the top lane, and it jumps to that, and then you miss the action in the bot lane that was about to happen. So this would allow you as a fan to kind of pick and choose what you really want to focus on as you're watching, which would be so cool.
If you love watching that bot lane battle, you can just watch the bot lane battle the entire time.
Instead of jumping to top lane when it's two tanks beating the crap out of each other and then backing. I mean, it would make viewing the LCS just that much more interesting, in my opinion, because you could actually pinpoint what you want to watch, not necessarily what this computer algorithm is jumping between.
Well, I would have to say what I'm looking forward to most is winning a fantasy football game.
I hope for your sake you get it done.
There is
weekend,
literally
man.
nothing
Who you playing?
worse than who am I playing? I don't even know.
Michael, I'm playing you this week. So,
Yeah.
Oh, trash talk, go.
Let's go.
Haven't lost since I changed the name. So there you go.
2-2. Get the fuck out of here. I'm 3-1. My roster is stacked beyond belief. I would be looking at it right now, but there's an ad on my ESPN. I can't really read through it. But I got Cam Newton, Chris Thompson.
I'm playing 2-2, Brendan.
Hey, Anderson and Thompson are on bye week.
This is true. That's why I have backups. I got Joe Mixon on the bench. I got Randall Cobb, Shane Vereen on the bench. Sam Bradford's still out. I might have to drop him. I don't actually know yet.
I hope you play Shane Vereen. I hope you do.
Dude, I could play Shane Vereen. He's going to go off just because he's playing you.
Can you guys just rub my ego for just 1 sec? Can you tell me how a team of Marcus Mariota, Jay Ajayi, the then Chris Carson, Antonio Brown, Stephon Diggs, Charles Clay, Doug Baldwin is 0-4?
Well, I'll tell you. Miami is dirt trash, and they try to lean on Ajayi.
Okay.
AB went up against Jimmy Smith, so he kind of got shut down.
Okay.
And Mariota can't stay healthy.
We didn't talk about the temper tantrum.
That was funny.
That was great.
Did you hear Ben and
Ben said,
Tomlin?
I don't need that shit in here.
Yeah, both of them were like, "Get the hell out of here, AB."
Get your queen bee attitude and take it right out of here. But I just hope I can pull it together because I just you want to know something else though? I have 12 ESPN fantasy leagues that I just made over the course of the preseason. Every one of them won last weekend. Every one of them.
Besides the only one that matters.
I went 11-12. I went 11-1 last weekend. I had teams scoring like 157, and me over here. The one that matters, man. All right, I need to get out of here.
Layton, you know one reason why I'll beat you this week? The Seahawks play at the Rams, and I have the Rams defense. And the Seahawks, one kryptonite is playing at the Rams.
That is so true. Although that
might
have been more of a St. Louis thing.
Oh, dude, are you really tying into the city, not the team?
Well, guys, this has been another quite fun interaction with the two of you. I really enjoy getting together every week and spitting the shit. And I look forward to doing it again next week, hopefully as the 1-4 damn we suck fantasy football team. Michael, it's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Where can the fine folks at home find you?
You can find me
not here.
Find me on all the social medias at Chunky Taco. And can I get a fuck Kurt Roper before we get off?
Fuck Kurt Roper.
Fuck Kurt Roper.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
Layton, how about you?
You can find me everywhere at just the name, Layton Markwood, Layton. Markwood, just how it sounds.
And I'm your grand host, Colin, and you can find me at @the_C Morris. This has been Consistently Inconsistent, giving you everything you need to stay ahead in the world of sports. Or did we? We'll see you next week. Oh, we didn't copyright that. We didn't copyright that. We don't have the rights to that. We don't have the rights to that. We're like a da-da-da. That's it. You can't finish it.
You get half of it. You get half of it.
Yeah, just cut it off a little bit. Just cut it off.
All right, we're cutting it off now.